I never stopped walking toward you. The tension is electric, the moment fragile, the weight of 30 years pressing on them both. The screen fractures into quick, flashing cuts, an emotional storm unraveling. Edward alone in his apartment, smashing a glass against the wall, regret written in his shadow. Vivian crying in her car, gripping the steering wheel, whispering, "Why now? Why him?" A rival businessman leaning in close to Edward, snarling, "You've lost your edge. Louis, this isn't your world anymore." Vivian refusing an offer from a wealthy suitor, her voice firm. "Money doesn't buy the kind of love I've known." The pace quickens, the sound of a heartbeat rising in the background, each beat harder, faster. Amidst the storm, brief flashes of hope appear. Edward and Vivian laughing together in a small cafe, walking through Central Park in autumn leaves, their hands almost joining before pulling away again. Every happy glimpse is followed by pain, every promise shadowed by fear. The music climbs higher, crashing into a breaking point. Vivian shouts in anguish, "We're not the same people anymore." The screen freezes on her silhouette, trembling, eyes hidden. Then Edward's voice cuts in, steady, breaking through the chaos. "No. We're the only people who ever saw each other for real." A final montage fires like lightning. Vivian walking away through pouring rain. Edward running after her, desperate, unafraid of the storm. Vivian turning in slow motion, her breath shaking as their eyes lock again. A final close shot, his hand reaching out, hers trembling as it hovers above his. The music slams into silence. A piano key holds. The words appear across the screen in white letters against black. Maybe this time, we get it right. The screen goes dark. A pause. Then the title erupts in gold, bold, and unshakable. Pretty Woman 2, 2025. Richard Gere, Julia Roberts. The last whisper of Edward's voice echoes, "Welcome back." Princess, fade out, the screen is black. For a long breath, there is only silence. Then a single piano note rings out, soft, aching, and hopeful. Slowly light spills in, sunrise over the city skyline, washing the glass towers in gold. The storm has passed. The chaos has quieted. What remains is the truth of two lives standing on the edge of a choice. Vivian walks alone through a quiet street at dawn. Her silhouette is calm but uncertain, her steps slow, thoughtful. The voiceover of her heart whispers, "We waited half a lifetime to stand in front of each other again." But love is not about the years we lost. It's about the courage to begin once more. Cut to Edward sitting on a park bench, his head lowered, his hands clasped. For the first time, his body seems fragile, as though the weight of his choices is heavier than all the wealth he has carried. A child passes by and drops a flower at his feet. He picks it up, staring at it quietly, a flicker of something soft breaking through the cracks of regret. His inner voice follows. "I don't need an empire. I only need her." The montage flows slower now, gentle, filled with warmth instead of chaos. Vivian arriving at the steps of the charity center she built, her hands brushing across the stone engraved with the words, "Hope begins here." Edward walking past an old boutique hotel, pausing as if hearing echoes of the past. A phone ringing, unanswered, then ringing again, the sound louder, more insistent. Then the cut. Vivian steps into a gala hall once more, but this time it is empty, chairs stacked, lights dimmed. She looks around as though expecting to see him. At that exact moment, Edward enters quietly from the other side. The silence between them stretches again, but it feels different now, less like a wound, more like a door waiting to be opened. Edward speaks first, his voice breaking but steady. "I don't want another 30 years without you." Vivian closes her eyes, her breath shaking. She turns, her steps echoing in the vast hall. For a moment it feels as if she will walk away, but then she stops. She turns back. The music swells, piano, strings, and a rising chorus, soft but unstoppable. She takes a step toward him, then another. Finally she stands before him, no words, just silence, and then their hands meet, his trembling, hers steady. A single tear slides down her cheek and she whispers, "Maybe this time, we write our own ending." The camera pulls back slowly, showing them together in the vast empty space. Two figures who have carried decades of distance, but now share the same light. The screen fades to black as the final line appears in golden letters. Some fairy tales deserve a second chapter. The title rises one last time. Bold and radiant. Pretty Woman 2, 2025. Richard Gere, Julia Roberts. The final sound is Edward's voice, soft as a promise. Forever. Fade out. The screen opens with silence. Then the faint sound of footsteps, measured, steady, echoes through an empty gallery filled with photographs. Each picture tells a story: laughter, pain, hope. A spotlight lingers on one photo of Edward and Vivian in their youth, captured in the glow of Beverly Hills. Slowly, the camera pulls back, revealing that the gallery isn't real. It's a dreamscape, a hall of memories built from moments that shaped their lives. The voiceover rises, soft and reflective as if spoken by time itself. Love does not end when years pass. It transforms. It becomes the legacy we leave behind. We cut to Vivian walking with a young woman, her daughter confident, full of spirit, her silhouette echoing her mother's past. Vivian's voice speaks gently to her. The world will tell you what you can't be. But one day someone will see you for who you are. That is the love worth waiting for. Meanwhile, Edward sits with a group of young entrepreneurs. He listens not as a powerful tycoon but as a mentor. His silhouette leans forward, his tone calm. Build more than wealth. Build something that outlasts you. Find someone who makes the empire worth it. Their eyes watch him, inspired, as if hearing the wisdom of a man who finally understands what matters. The montage weaves together two paths, Vivian guiding with heart, Edward leading with wisdom. Both are no longer just two people caught in a love story. They are symbols of what love becomes when it matures. The conflict is no longer about lost years, but about passing forward the truth they found. The music swells, brighter now, carrying tones of triumph rather than sorrow. Images flash. Vivian standing on a stage, speaking at her charity event, the audience rising in applause. Edward walking beside her, their hands brushing as though united again, but stronger this time. A glimpse of their daughter watching them, smiling as if witnessing a story come full circle. The camera holds on Edward and Vivian as they walk away from the spotlight into the night. Their silhouettes fade into the glow of the city, together, not chasing dreams anymore, but living them. The voiceover closes in one final promise. Some stories are not just about two people. They are about the love that reshapes the world, one heart at a time. The screen cuts to black. Then the words appear in golden light, glowing like a final signature. Pretty Woman 2, 2025. The story lives on a final note of music plays. Hopeful, soaring, unforgettable, fade out. The office hums as it always does. Phones ringing, heels clicking, keyboards rattling like tiny drums. But then the rhythm changes. Andy steps through the elevator doors, and for the first time since she arrived at Runway, the room notices her. She doesn't announce herself. She doesn't need to. The transformation speaks louder than words. Her coat is sleek, cinched perfectly at the waist. Her boots strike the floor with confidence. Her hair frames her face in polished waves. It's not the clothes alone, and it's the way she wears them. The girl who once stumbled through the hallways now walks like she belongs. Emily, who has spent weeks rolling her eyes at Andy, freezes mid-sentence. Her expression flickers between shock and jealousy. Coworkers glance up from their desks, their whispers no longer mocking but tinged with curiosity, even respect. The same people who dismissed Andy as a joke now struggle to place her. Is this the same assistant they laughed at? Or someone entirely new? Then comes the most important moment. Miranda Priestly emerges from her office, coat draped over her shoulders like a queen in her throne room. She sweeps through the space with her usual icy grace, her eyes scanning the room with barely a pause. And then, for the briefest second, her gaze lands on Andy. It isn't a smile. It isn't approval, but it is something. A flicker of acknowledgement, the slightest pause in Miranda's perfect stride. For Miranda Priestly, that pause is louder than applause. For Andy, it is proof. Proof that she has crossed a line, from invisible to visible, from overlooked to undeniable. But here is the truth. The makeover isn't just about fabric and style. It's about power. Andy realizes that fashion, the thing she dismissed as shallow, is a language. And now finally she can speak it. With this new language, doors begin to open. People listen when she speaks. She is still the same ambitious girl, still dreaming of being a journalist, but now she has discovered a tool she never valued before. The power of presentation. Yet, the transformation carries weight. There's a question lurking in her reflection. Who am I becoming? The clothes give her confidence, but they also demand something in return. To survive in this world, she must keep playing the game. And games, especially in Runway's world, come with a price. Still, in this moment, Andy chooses to own it. She walks down the hall. Every step a declaration. She is not the outsider anymore. She is part of the story now, shaping it, living it, redefining it. The makeover is more than just a scene in a movie. It is a reminder that transformation is never just about the outside. It is about the courage to adapt, the strength to learn, and the wisdom to understand the rules of the world you've chosen to enter. Andy didn't just change her clothes. She changed the way the world saw her. And more importantly, the way she saw herself, and so, the girl who once shrank under the weight of judgment now stands taller than ever. In the world of Runway, she has finally claimed her place. Andy walks out of the Runway office as the city buzzes outside, the streets alive with honking taxis, flashing lights, and hurried footsteps. But for her, the world feels slower now, clearer, sharper. Each reflection she catches in a passing window reminds her of the shift, not just in her clothes, but in her presence. People glance at her differently now. Strangers step aside not because they know her, but because confidence has a way of creating space. She remembers the girl she was when she first walked into Runway. Nervous, overlooked, desperate to prove herself, and too stubborn to admit she was drowning. That version of Andy would never have believed this moment. Back then, she thought fashion was just fabric and vanity, a distraction from what really mattered. But now she understands it is more than that. Fashion is armor. It is strategy. It is identity written in silk and leather and color. Inside the office, Emily fumes quietly at her desk. Coworkers whisper behind half-hidden smiles, and Miranda continues her reign with an elegance that no one dares challenge. Andy knows her makeover has not changed the rules of Runway. The demands will still be relentless, the expectations impossible. But something is different now. She is no longer unarmed. She has stepped onto the battlefield prepared, aware of the cost, but also aware of her strength. Yet the transformation raises questions that linger in her mind. How much of herself will she have to sacrifice to survive here? Is she gaining respect, or is she losing her true self? The clothes give her power, but do they also trap her in someone else's image? These questions remain unanswered, but perhaps that is the nature of transformation. It's not the end of the story, only the beginning of a new chapter. As she strides past the magazine's glass doors, the camera might catch her profile against the glow of New York's skyline. It is a visual reminder. Andy Sachs has changed, but she hasn't finished changing. The girl who wanted to be a journalist is still there. But now she carries something she never valued before, the knowledge that image can unlock doors that talent alone cannot. This is why her makeover scene has remained iconic. It's not simply about the beauty of fashion or the thrill of luxury. It's about watching someone discover the courage to reinvent themselves. It's about the uncomfortable truth that sometimes survival means bending to the world before you can learn to reshape it. In the end, Andy's makeover is not just a story of clothes. It's a story of power, growth, and identity. It's the moment she stopped being invisible and started being unforgettable. And that's why, even years later, audiences return to this scene again and again. Because deep down we all recognize a part of ourselves in Andy Sachs. That moment when the world underestimates us, and we find the strength to prove it wrong. The story of Andy Sachs doesn't end with one makeover. That moment in the fashion closet was only the spark. But what makes it unforgettable is what it says about all of us. Because in truth, this scene is not only about a girl learning how to wear designer clothes. It's about the quiet, unspoken transformations we all go through when the world demands more than we feel ready to give. Think about it. We've all had moments where we felt invisible, overlooked, underestimated, where no matter how hard we worked, no one seemed to take us seriously. That was Andy at the start of Runway, dismissed not because of her talent, but because she didn't look the part. And then came the shift, not because her heart changed, but because her armor did. She learned that sometimes, in order to survive, you have to speak the language of the world around you. That's why this makeover scene resonates long after the credits roll. It's not about fashion alone, it's about identity. It asks us, how much of ourselves are we willing to reshape in order to be seen? And when we finally earn that recognition, does it come at a cost, or does it simply reveal what was always waiting inside us? For Andy, the answer is complex. She doesn't vanish beneath the designer fabrics. Instead, she discovers a stronger version of herself hidden beneath the sweaters and hesitation. The brilliance of The Devil Wears Prada is that it doesn't treat the makeover as a shallow montage. It frames it as a turning point, a moment where the underestimated assistant takes control of her image and, in doing so, changes her destiny. But it also reminds us of the tension between authenticity and adaptation. Andy gains confidence, respect, and presence. But she also steps onto a path where the lines between who she is and who she is becoming start to blur. And maybe that's why we can't stop revisiting this story. Because Andy's struggle mirrors our own. Whether it's a new job, a new role, or a new stage in life, we all face moments where transformation feels necessary. We all wonder if changing how the world sees us means losing who we really are, or if it's simply the first step in becoming who we were meant to be. So when Andy walks through those office doors in her new self, she doesn't just stun her coworkers. She speaks to us, reminding us that reinvention is both terrifying and liberating. She proves that invisibility is not permanent, that with the right courage, and yes, sometimes the right armor, anyone can claim their place. And that is why her makeover remains one of the most iconic moments in film history, not just because it was stylish, but because it was honest, because it whispered a truth that everyone watching could feel. We are all in some way waiting for our moment to step into the light and be seen.